When the sun disappears, darkness spreads like a blanket over the frozen vastness. The wind blows violently across the frozen steppe, and the ocean, transformed into a white desert, falls silent. Blood stains the white snow, a fierce reminder that in this kingdom of ice, the struggle for life never ceases. The world is entering a winter slumber. Everything is ready for one of the most amazing chapters in wildlife. In this remote region, close to the edge of the planet, cold isn't just a condition, it's a law. Temperatures can drop below -60 degrees and sunlight can be absent for months. There's no room for error here. The weather is the greatest adversary and at the same time the ultimate judge of existence. Life adapts or disappears. Every day is a test. Every dawn marks a new struggle for survival. Nothing is simple. The terrain is inhospitable. The storms are relentless and resources are scarce. And yet, in this forgotten corner, nature continues its course with indomitable force. Migrations, displacements, and conflicts all occur under a pale sky and on a frozen land that covers more than 14 million square kilometers. A continent with no permanent population, where 98% of the surface is covered by ice. In the depths of the ocean or in the vastness of the ice, silent beings resist, hide, hunt, flee, adapt. Here, where winter is not just a season, but an absolute sovereign, every form of existence demonstrates its ancient strength. Welcome to wild Antarctica, where survival is a constant battle, and the cold rules the rules of an untouched and brutal world. Beneath the water's surface, an imposing figure moves with precision. It's a majestic orca, which can reach more than 8 meters in length and weigh more than 5 tons. It is the most efficient predator in the Southern Ocean. She's not alone. She's part of a group, a pack that can number more than 40 individuals. These groups follow a matrilineal structure. It is the adult females, especially the oldest ones, who make the most important decisions. This is not a casual meeting, but a strong social unit, built on the foundation of family ties, constant cooperation, and shared learning that is passed down from generation to generation. From the first moment of its life, an orca calf begins to recognize its mother's unique voice, differentiating it among dozens of underwater sounds. He always swims at her side, synchronizing the rhythm of his body with hers, learning to move, to breathe, to be present. Little by little, she also begins to identify the clicks with which the adults communicate, carefully observing how they respond to the matriarch's calls. Sometimes, in the midst of the group, the young simply listens silently. Other times, they try to imitate the sounds, creating an underwater babble that elicits soft, almost tender responses from their relatives. Their world is forming around that common language. They are learning, little by little, what it means to be part of a community. It is a way of life shaped by intelligence, collective memory, and the capacity for adaptation honed over thousands of years in the depths of the ocean. Each of their movements is precise, as if following an invisible choreography. Their group movements, their way of communicating with pulses and clicks, and their ability to make collective decisions make the orca a true ocean strategist. Hunting is not an individual act, but a display of technique, discipline, and teamwork. Sometimes their prey is an unsuspecting seal resting on an ice floe. The pack surrounds the block of ice, synchronizes their movements, and causes a series of waves that cause it to capsize. The seal, frightened and with no escape, falls into the water. The outcome is as certain as it is inevitable. From a distance, the orca pups watch silently. They stay close to the more experienced females who don't directly participate in the attack, but rather protect the young. Sometimes a mother makes a brief sound as if signaling attention. It's a silent lesson. The young witness the ice giving way, the prey falling, and how each movement has a purpose. They don't launch into the attack. They're not ready yet. But their eyes learn, memorize, imitate. In that instant, the ancestral knowledge of hunting is transmitted without words. But there are hunts that require even more cunning. Sometimes the target isn't just a sleeping seal, but a pup protected by its mother's imposing shield. A southern right whale. The prey isn't the immediate food, but her pup. In one of the most shocking tactics in the animal kingdom, orcas become ruthless strategists. They identify the mother and calf and begin the siege. They don't attack immediately. Instead, they take turns stalking her, swimming in circles, cutting off escape routes and forcing her to expend energy. The goal is to separate the calf from its mother. When they succeed, the group acts quickly. While some keep her occupied, others stand between the mother and her young, driving them further and further away. The scene can last for hours. In the end, if the strategy succeeds, the calf is left isolated and vulnerable. The sea turns red. It's not cruelty, it's survival. And each member of the pack receives their share as if in a perfectly orchestrated ritual. Sometimes the target lies deep within the ocean. The orcas that inhabit these southern waters know this all too well. They have developed a particular fondness for the black toothfish, a fish that can grow up to 2 meters long and lives more than 700 meters below the surface, where the pressure and extreme cold are lethal to most species. Reaching these dark, icy depths requires exceptional lung capacity, but these orcas manage it. They dive like silent projectiles, holding their breath for more than 15 minutes. During immersion, their heart rate drops dramatically, an adaptation that allows them to withstand the abysmal pressure and conserve oxygen. They reach their prey in the silence of the depths and then emerge with it between their teeth. But they don't eat right away. They swim to the shallowest layers near the thin ice where the young wait expectantly. There, the true ritual begins. They share food. They teach, nurture, and ensure the continuity of their lineage. A mother orca slowly surfaces, holding a toothfish between her teeth. Beside her, her calf spins restlessly. With gentle movements, the mother releases a piece of prey right in front of her. The little orca hesitates. It's her first contact with meat. She smells it, touches it with her snout. Finally, she bites it. She doesn't know what to do. She looks at her mother. She doesn't rush her. She just watches patiently. After a few seconds, the baby swallows the morsel and makes a high-pitched, almost celebratory sound. It has taken its first step toward food independence. In the world of orcas, calves are never alone. They are the treasure of the pod, the focus of all attention and collective effort. At birth, they already make an impressive statement. They weigh over 180 kilograms and reach a length of 2 meters. From their first breath in the icy water, surrounded by the warm, protective bodies of their peers, their learning begins. There are no classrooms or blackboards, just the vast backdrop of the ocean. There, guided by their mothers, they learn to swim, to use echolocation to explore their surroundings, to identify prey and to differentiate it from the ocean's soundscape. Education goes hand in hand with play, clumsy jumps, unexpected turns, friendly chases and gentle bites that strengthen bonds and prepare them for the future. A baby, just a few months old, discovers a kelp floating near the surface. It pursues it with the intensity of someone chasing a living thing. It circles it, pounces on it, drags it a few meters, and then lets go. She repeats it over and over again as if each attempt were a rehearsal. Her mother watches her patiently. Around her, other babies also play, some with pieces of ice, others with small fish or sea branches. What seems like simple fun is actually training. Every clumsy turn, every playful lunge is a future hunting strategy in the making. One of the most moving moments occurs when the calves begin to practice real hunting techniques under the watchful eye of the adults. A patient and vigilant mother orca guides her newborn daughter toward a small school of fish. It doesn't pose a threat, nor is it difficult to prey. It's a lesson. This isn't about catching, but rather learning to wait, understanding when to act. The mother emits soft sonic pulses, almost like underwater whispers. The baby listens, tries to imitate the clicks, but its sounds are still clumsy, jumbled. Still, it pounces, driven by excitement, by the urge to imitate, to test, to grow. Her first attempt fails. The fish disperse like smoke underwater. The mother doesn't harshly correct her. Instead, she guides her again. She repeats the movements. A second chance. This time, the calf manages to isolate one, circles it, pounces, and catches it by the tail. It doesn't kill it, it plays with it. The mother watches, then together they emerge to the surface. That game is not useless, it is practice. They learn to calculate distances, to coordinate their impulses, to use echolocation not only to navigate but also to hunt. The youngest ones repeat these exercises over and over again until their movements become as precise as those of adults, and when they finally participate in a royal hunt, they do so with pride. The group greets them with celebratory vocalizations. They've taken a step toward adulthood, but it's not all tenderness and education. The life of an orca is a constant journey. Some populations migrate thousands of miles from the icy waters of the White Continent to more temperate areas in search of food and rest. Journeys of more than 9,000 kilometers have been recorded between Antarctica and the South Pacific. The voyage can last more than 20 days, an eternal journey that ends only in death. During this time, the group never disperses. The orcas stay in touch through complex sound systems. Each pack has its own dialect, composed of unique acoustic patterns that allow the identification of group members. These coded messages travel through the water like ancient echoes, maintaining unity and order. In orc society, leaders are often elderly females. Many of them are over 60 years old, and they are a source of vital experience for the group's survival. They are the guardians of collective knowledge. They know exactly where the best hunting areas are, what the dangers of each stream are, and when it's time to move forward or stop. Their decisions save lives. Some of them have been seen by scientists in the Gerlache Strait, and months later on the coast of McMurdo Sound. Tireless travelers, they bear in their scars the roots of a map that is not written, but is passed down from generation to generation. In the cold, deep waters of the ocean, orcas not only manage to survive, they dominate their environment. They have risen to the top of the food chain thanks to their ability to work in groups, their memory, and an intelligence that many scientists compare to that of great primates. Their environment is not chaos, but an organized system based on strategy, experience, and learning, passed down through generations. As the polar sun barely rises over the horizon, they continue to carry out their routines, perfectly adapted to the ice and the depths of the sea. High above that same ocean, where the waves roll in perpetual motion and the wind blows mercilessly, another creature defies the immensity. It glides with absolute majesty, spreading its wings that exceed 3 meters in span. It is the wandering albatross, the eternal nomad of the marine sky, the bird with the largest wingspan on the planet, which can reach up to 3 meters from wing to wing and travel impossible distances without hardly moving its wings. Where other animals would see desolation, he finds home. The albatross doesn't fly, it floats, it dances, it glides on invisible currents. It can travel more than 10,000 kilometers in a single journey, taking advantage of a flight technique called dynamic gliding, which allows it to propel itself with minimal energy expenditure, without touching the ground, guided by an instinct that defies all logic. Its eyes scan the surface, searching for food. It's not fussy, a small fish, a crustacean that rises by mistake. Sometimes it dives shallowly, others simply wait. The sea, sooner or later, always offers something. However, in its eagerness to fill its stomach, it can eat so much that its own wings lose strength. It then falls into the water, floating heavily, vulnerable, until it can rise again, as if reborn from the ocean. Despite this wandering life, the albatross returns home. Every 2 years, if the winds are favorable and life permits, it returns to the same island where it was born. They nest on subantarctic islands like South Georgia and the Crozet Islands, in colonies that can number more than 1,000 individuals. These remote islands, where moss barely covers the ground and the air smells of salt, witness their most important encounter, that of love. Courtship is a ceremony that combines solemnity and awkwardness. The male spreads his wings, bows, shakes his head, bumps his beak against the females, and makes strange sounds. Braying, muffled roars, guttural whispers. This ritual can last for hours, and sometimes several years before a stable bond is formed. If she responds, the bond is sealed, and it will be forever. An albatross mates only once in its life. This absolute fidelity can last for more than 50 years, making it one of the most enduring examples of animal fidelity. Once the pair has formed, they build a simple nest, mud, dry branches, and a little vegetation if available. The female lays a single egg in it. There won't be another one for 2 years if the calf survives. Both parents take turns incubating the eggs, enduring rain, cold, and the slow passage of time. More than 60 days pass without separating, and then a crack, a tremor. The shell breaks. A new hope is born. The chick is weak, barely a ball of feathers. Its body is fragile, trembling closer to a breath of life than a future bird. But in that solitary nest, lost on a remote island where the wind is unhindered and the sea beats relentlessly, a miracle occurs that has been repeated for millennia. The albatross's parents feed it with a precious substance. It's not just a morsel, but a vital elixir. Regurgitated from deep within their stomachs, the oil they deliver is thick, warm, and brimming with energy. It's a concentrate of hope, up to 9,000 kilocalories per liter, designed by evolution to withstand the trials of the far south. Each drop falls directly into the tiny beak, open like a promise, and with each drop, the chick grows, not immediately but steadily. Day after day, the weak ball of feathers begins to round out, to stand on its clumsy legs. His eyes become more alert, hungrier for the world. The stomach oil not only nourishes his body, it also awakens his instinct to wait and to fight. Over time, parents are no longer as present. Visits become more spaced out, sporadic and unpredictable. They disappear for days, sometimes more than a week. The little boy is left alone, staring at the horizon he barely understands. But his parents are there, flying impossible distances, crossing more than 1,000 kilometers over the open ocean in search of fish and squid. There's no guarantee of success. There's no rest either, only one duty: to return with food. Meanwhile, in the nest, the chick learns to live with absence. It endures the cold that creeps in everywhere, the wind that seems to mock its stillness, the rain that soaks its still immature feathers. But above all, it learns to live with waiting, the long, silent, cruel wait. And one day, without prior training, without rehearsal, he will leap into the void. His wings, which have been developed in secret, in silence, will open, and the sky will be his. That will be his first flight. There won't be an immediate second, because after that leap, he'll be gone. For years, he won't return to the island where he was born. He will become a traveler, a dweller in the wind. But for that day to come, you must first survive, because the solitude of the nest isn't always peaceful. On these storm-battered islands, inhabited by persistence, danger takes many forms. The sea is cruel, and so is the sky. But there are threats that advance along the ground, that move stealthily and opportunistically. Under a leaden sky that seems to collapse onto the rocks, a skua appears at the colony. Its flight is tense, deliberate. Its dark wings cut through the air with precision, as if measuring each gust, not seeking mating, not seeking shelter, just food, easy, unsafe, alone. The chick, still in its nest, doesn't know it's being watched. Its eyes, still naive, don't understand hunters. All it knows is the hunger burning in its empty stomach and the faint hope of a friendly shadow returning from the sea. But the skua knows this and approaches. It circles, perches nearby, and then walks between the nests like someone testing familiar ground. He approaches, steps back, observes. He's an experienced thief. This isn't the first time. The colony has seen it before, losing young to his clutches, but he's also learned. Suddenly, a squawk erupts like thunder. It's not coming from the chick, but from an adult still nearby. He's an old albatross with a hard gaze. He spreads his wings furiously, imposing himself like a silent guardian. The cry spreads. Other adults echo it. The air fills with dry, tense calls, as if the island itself were screaming. The skua hesitates. He's not cowardly, but neither is he reckless. He takes a few steps back. His eyes dart from one nest to the other, calculating. Then he leaps, soars, and flies away. He hasn't given up. He's just waiting for another chance. But not all danger comes in the form of a feather or claws. Sometimes the threat doesn't walk or fly, but instead falls from on high, devastating everything. Hours later, the sky darkens even further. The clouds become dense, low, and heavy. A storm advances relentlessly. The wind whistles like a blade. The rain doesn't fall. It pounds in furious, horizontal gusts. The nest trembles, threatening to fall apart. The chick curls up, clinging to the mud, to life with its claws. Its feathers become soaked, its warmth escapes. There's no shelter, no mother, no father. Just him, his small, exposed body, and the primal instinct that demands he survive against all odds. For hours, the world crumbles. The wind howls as if the island itself might split in two. Many nests are lost. Some young are swept away by the water or die of exposure. But he survives. Thanks to the location of his nest, its rounded shape that retains heat and perhaps, just perhaps, a small favor of chance. When the storm finally recedes, it does so reluctantly. The sky opens tentatively. A greyish, almost compassionate light filters through the broken clouds. The silence that follows is dense, like a collective sigh from the colony. And then in the distance, something moves. A figure crosses the horizon. It's not wind. It's not a threat. It's one of its parents. The albatross returns. It flies low, skimming the sea with its wings outstretched. Its flight is swift, steady, straight to the nest. Its stomach is full. He's crossed seas, dodged storms, fought for food, and he brings it. Not just physical food, but emotional food. It brings proof that the abandonment was only apparent. That distance wasn't forgetting. That love, in this form, is an act of resistance. It lands gently next to the nest. The chick, soaked and shivering, raises its beak, and the long-awaited drop falls, thick, warm, full of life. That day, the little bird survived hunger, predators, and storms. He doesn't know it, but he's taken another step toward flight. He has learned that living in the south means facing the abyss with his head held high, that the wind can punish but also announce a return. He has understood, with his body and his waiting, that not all dangers have wings, and not all shadows mean death. Sometimes the approaching shadow is that of the father returning, and with it a drop of oil falls that not only nourishes but also comforts. Such is the life of the wandering albatross, woven with long absences, quiet returns, relentless storms, and almost invisible gestures. Every day is a challenge, every nest a renewed promise, because in this remote corner of the planet, endurance is a form of love, and loving a way of waiting. There, where the ice breaks with a dull crunch and the wind howls relentlessly, the orca and the albatross continue their course, one under the sea, the other above the clouds, and between them the Southern Ocean, vast, merciless, beautiful, the perfect setting for two opposing kingdoms united by the same infinite blue. But they are not the only majestic inhabitants of this end of the world where life defies the impossible to persist. In a remote corner of the sub-Antarctic Ocean, where the snow never completely disappears, one of the most fascinating life forms in the natural world thrives. There, where the land merges with the sea and the cold penetrates to the bone, the ocean holds secrets that only the most resilient dare to face. And among them stands out an elegant figure dressed in black and white with a bearing that seems to have come straight from a parade, the king penguin, the second largest penguin species on the planet. Beneath the surface, this seabird transforms. What appears clumsy and wobbly on land transforms underwater into an impeccable, agile, and swift swimmer. It can reach speeds of up to 10 kilometers per hour, using its wings like flippers. With each stroke, it slices through the water gracefully, perfectly adapted to an environment that, although icy, seems made for it. The cold doesn't intimidate him. On the contrary, the icy water welcomes him like an old friend. Beneath his skin, a thick layer of fat and oiled fur retain the warmth that keeps him alive in these waters that would freeze almost any creature. He descends unhurriedly in a silent, fluid dance that takes him beyond a depth of 100 meters. There, where sunlight barely filters through the blue gloom, his search begins. Among schools of silver fish that move like living mirrors, the penguin chooses its prey with the precision of an expert. It glides skillfully, zigzagging swiftly to confuse its targets, taking advantage of every current and every shadow. A group of sardines tries to save itself by spiraling into a confused cloud, but this strategy is not enough. With a swift burst, the penguin throws its body forward and catches one of them between its curved beak, sharp as a precision tool. Inside, small, inward-facing horny spines prevent the prey from escaping while the bird arranges it before swallowing. Although essentially a bird, its anatomy defies all expectations. Its legs are swept back, its wings are turned into rigid flippers, and its body is designed for water, forcing it to adopt an awkward posture on land and impeccable dexterity below the surface. It retains the mind of a bird, attentive, quick, instinctive, but it navigates an environment that demands a different logic. And although it carries a structure that exceeds the limits of its original design, it has found its ideal setting in these waters. But success does not mean security. In the depths, where the light barely hints at its presence, a shadow slips stealthily. The leopard seal, a patient predator, has followed the penguin's every move. From the shadows, it estimates the distance, recognizes the rhythm of its swimming, and waits for the moment when its prey wanders, confident in its agility. For her, ice is no obstacle, nor is cold a discomfort. This kingdom of icy water is her territory. The penguin, still focused on its hunt, perceives the change. It's not an image nor a sound, but a vibration in the water column, a minimal alteration in the natural rhythm of the environment. Instinctively, he spins around and throws out a burst of bubbles, momentarily blinding his pursuer. The leopard seal reacts late. The bird is already speeding away, ascending toward the light. With rapid flapping of its wings and a body that narrows with each movement, it gains momentum in the water column. Near the surface, it folds its fins and stretches its neck. It shoots out like an arrow, piercing the liquid layer and landing with a jump on a nearby ice floe. There, out of immediate reach, he shakes off the drops still clinging to his plumage and catches his breath. The hunter remains behind, once again merging with the darkness, waiting for another opportunity. In those icy waters, life never stops, and every creature must find its sustenance wherever it can. Their diet, although varied, consists of small fish, squid that camouflage themselves in the marine darkness, and tiny crustaceans that float like living particles. But what's truly impressive is not just their hunting ability, but the precision with which their bodies have evolved to survive in one of the most hostile environments on the planet. Its aerodynamic shape reduces water resistance. Its compact and robust body structure provides strength without sacrificing speed. But their real secret lies in their plumage. Each feather is designed to repel water and trap air, creating an insulating layer that retains body heat even in near-freezing waters. They have a dense coat of more than 70 feathers per square centimeter. It can spend up to 10 minutes in the depths before emerging. It does so gracefully, without splashing, breaking the ocean surface as discreetly as it's submerged. During this time underwater, it moves precisely through icy currents, dodging predators and persistently seeking out the schools of fish that ensure its survival. There's no room for error. Every dive represents a risky but necessary gamble. With the day's loot caught in its beak, the penguin swims back to dry land. Its movements are swift, as if time were always against it. The energy it expends with each dive has one purpose: to feed its young, which wait among the multitude of chicks in the colony. Once on land, he walks with difficulty among rocks and ice, surrounded by thousands of other specimens repeating the same routine. The wind blows relentlessly and the cold chills to the bone, but the adult penguin's determination remains unbroken. He has learned to endure. She finally finds her young, who recognizes her immediately. With a high-pitched squeal, the baby opens her beak, impatient, trembling with hunger. Without delay, the adult regurgitates the food, a nutrient-rich mixture, directly into her mouth. It's a quick, instinctive, but vital act. That portion represents the entire effort of an entire day, all the risk assumed in the depths. The baby swallows eagerly, as if it knows it might be its last meal of the day. As soon as it finishes, it hits its parent's chest with its tiny beak, demanding more, hoping there's something else hidden, one last bite that will allow it to hold on a little longer. Around them, other young animals do the same. Some are stronger, larger, and manage to dominate the smaller ones, snatching their position or food when the adults arrive. There is no mercy, nor time for weakness. In these extreme lands, where ice dominates the landscape and food is scarce, survival is not a right but a privilege earned day by day. Meanwhile, the adults prepare for the next dive as the cycle never stops. The entire colony moves in a perfectly synchronized rhythm between sea and land, between hunting and breeding, between effort and hope. Every bite can make the difference between living or dying in this hostile environment. When not hunting, king penguins form veritable living cities. They gather in vast coastal areas where the white of the snow is interrupted by thousands, even hundreds of thousands of bodies lined up, orderly, chaotic in appearance, but deeply synchronized. They are never alone. The largest colonies can number more than 200,000 individuals. King penguin's life revolves around community. There, among their own people, every movement has a purpose. In the bitter cold, they huddle together seeking shelter and warmth, and the crowd becomes a shield and shelter against the icy vastness. When the parents leave in search of food, the chicks are exposed, but in that sea of barely distinguishable voices, they recognize their own by a unique tone, a signal that breaks the confusion. This almost invisible bond sustains life in the crowd. They walk with that peculiar gait that seems clumsy, but that contains an iron will. They drag themselves through the frost, advance on the hardened snow, and occasionally slide on the ice as if play were part of their nature. But even in that apparent entertainment, there is a goal. Every year, between September and November, their bodies feel the call of change, its molting season. The old feathers fall out, giving way to new, bright, dense plumage vital to facing the icy waters. During this 3-week period, they lose about 30% of their weight, which prevents them from submerging. They are not waterproof. They remain on the ground, vulnerable, waiting. But it's not just a physical change, it's also the beginning of courtship. It is then that the deepest impulse awakens, the need to perpetuate the species. They choose a mate only once a season, and there is no room for error. Bonds are forged through subtle gestures, bows, and soft vocalizations that seem part of an ancient ritual. They recognize each other among thousands by their sound, their posture, and a dance that only they understand. This intimate language is the basis that supports the coordination necessary to face together the rigors of the reproductive cycle. After mating, both return briefly to the sea to feed and gather energy. What follows requires complete dedication. The female lays a single egg, white, rounded, weighing about 300 grams. As fragile as glass, it stands on its legs, protected by an incubation pouch with an abdominal fold. But she's not alone. The male is there, ready to share the task. They alternate with mathematical precision. While one goes off to hunt, the other remains motionless, the egg carefully held between its legs, protected from the ice by its body heat. Days, weeks can go by without a single bite. Their sole goal is to protect unborn life. About 60 days later, a faint sound breaks the silence. A new promise has been born. The chick, covered in grey down, is defenseless. It measures barely 10 centimeters at birth and weighs less than 300 grams. He has just arrived in the world without yet understanding what the cutting cold of the wind means, or the brutal emptiness left by hunger. He can't help himself. His barely open eyes instinctively seek the warmth and protection of his parents, who become his only refuge from the harsh environment. The adults, with silent dedication, take turns feeding him. They regurgitate carefully stored fish, depositing each morsel in their tiny beak. Day after day, week after week, they nurture it with perseverance. They shelter it beneath their bodies, wrapping it in their thick feathers, becoming a shield against icy gusts and snowstorms. The environment surrounding them is one of the most extreme on the planet. Temperatures can drop below -30 degrees Celsius, while wind gusts exceed 100 kilometers per hour. The frozen surface creaks under the weight of the ice, and the dim light barely illuminates the vast white landscape. In these conditions, the protection provided by dense feathers and close proximity to each other is essential to avoiding hypothermia and ensuring survival. It is within this shelter that the chick spends its first weeks, wrapped in the warmth and constant shade of its parents' breasts. For over a month, the chick's life is spent within these tiny bubbles of safety. All they know is this limited bubble, isolated from the frozen world around them. But the cycle of nature never stops. Eventually, the time comes when the baby must leave the absolute protection of the nest and take its first step toward independence. Although still fragile, he joins others like him in a makeshift nursery in the snow. There, the young gather together for mutual warmth, while the adults take turns watching and feeding. However, the threat lurks from the sky. A gust of icy wind sweeps across the white plain, stirring up flakes and exposing the pup's vulnerability. The skuar hovers over the colony, moving with the calculated calm of someone who is always hungry. Its sharp, alert eyes soon focus on a chick that has moved only a few steps away from the group. That's all you need. Without wasting a second, it dives, its wings slicing through the air with the precision of a born predator. The danger is imminent, but the adult penguin's protective instinct is swifter. With fierce determination, it stands between the chick and the predator. It spreads its wings in warning, ruffles its body, and lets out a scream that pierces the icy air. The skua, surprised by the sudden defense, hesitates for a moment, then flies away, frustrated, disappearing into the mist. The threat dissipates, but the message remains clear. In Antarctica, where life faces extreme conditions, survival depends not only on physical strength, but also on the unbreakable bond between parents and children. What at first seems like a fragile and exposed existence is sustained by a powerful will, one that does not hesitate to face danger in order to protect. Thus, the vulnerability of the chick is compensated by the unwavering courage of its parents, but at other times, a lack of food or a short separation can mean the difference between life and death. A young chick, still weak and without the constant protection of its parents, wanders aimlessly away from the group. The threat is not long in appearing. In the distance, a polar fox, one of the most cunning animals in the wild, moves cautiously among the shadows of ice and snow. Its silent, measured steps leave barely a trace on the cold layer of ground. It watches closely, searching for any sign of vulnerability. The chick, oblivious to the danger, walks clumsily among others its size, its grey down blending with the white of the landscape. The blizzard begins to pick up, and snowflakes fall thickly, reducing visibility and making orientation difficult. The fox waits, motionless, taking advantage of the camouflage offered by its surroundings, approaching little by little, measuring the distance. Every move is calculated, patient, as the wind blows the snow between them. Finally, as the chick pauses momentarily to utter a squeal that is lost in the roar of the wind, the fox bursts forth with speed, its paws breaking the stillness of the scene. The chick barely has time to react. In an instant, the fox catches him and silence reigns again. The nursery loses one of its members, an absence that goes unnoticed amid the turmoil, but which is part of the harsh reality of this unforgiving landscape. Life continues among the crowd, the cycle continues its course, and the colony remains protected by the constant vigilance of its adults. Chick nurseries are veritable living masses of down and squeals. Amidst this flurry of beaks, clumsy legs, and bodies covered in a thick coat of grey feathers, each chick seems lost in a sea of its peers. But within this apparent chaos, a hidden and astonishing order reigns. Each offspring has a unique call, a distinctive squeal that it emits from its first days of life. Thanks to this sound, chicks can be recognized by their parents and also identify each other. When a chick gets lost, its voice becomes louder, higher pitched, and filled with urgency. That distinctive squeal carries through the crowd like a distress signal. Sometimes the reunion with its parent occurs in just a few minutes, guided only by hearing. Other times the reunion takes days, during which time the chick must endure hunger, cold, and loneliness. Some don't survive, but surprisingly there are also gestures of compassion. An adult penguin who has lost its own chick may, on rare occasions, feed another orphaned one. It's not common, but when it happens, it makes the difference between life and death. These groups, known as creche, not only serve to keep the chicks together as they grow, but are also essential for their survival. Huddled together, the little ones protect themselves from the icy wind and potential predators, always on the lookout for mistakes and carelessness. Some adults remain on land as caretakers, alert to any threats, while others venture out into the ocean to search for food. It is a shift system that guarantees a certain stability in an environment as hostile as Antarctica. During these months, the chicks not only shelter, they also learn. They observe the movements of the adults, imitate their postures, and rehearse their own steps. King penguins grow particularly slowly. Unlike other species, which are ready to fend for themselves within a few weeks, these chicks require more than a year to reach full independence. It is not until this long cycle has elapsed that their plumage begins to change, their body gains the necessary strength, and their instincts become sharper. It is only then that they are truly ready to face the world. When the moment arrives, they respond to a natural impulse. They stop for a moment, look toward the horizon, and begin to move toward the water. The sea, vast and unknown, awaits them. When they're finally ready, the sea calls to them. They leave. They won't return for years. But they are not alone in these frigid latitudes. In the same icy southern waters where the ice reigns supreme and the wind cuts like invisible blades, another creature glides, the leopard seal. Its mottled body blends in with the reflections of the Antarctic Sea. It measures up to 3.5 meters and can weigh up to 600 kilos. Her life is different, marked by secrecy and autonomy. The leopard seal is a hunter par excellence. Its day begins with its senses on high alert, ready to respond to the hunger that guides its steps. It prefers solitude. It doesn't seek company, nor does it form packs. In an environment where food is scarce and every encounter can mean competition, distance becomes an advantage. Unlike common seals, which are more gregarious and clumsy in movement, the leopard seal is a refined hunter, more agile and more violent. Its routine is based on patience and strategy. It moves with surprising speed, capable of emerging from the depths with sudden violence to catch its prey unprepared. He hides near the ice floes where penguins jump into the water, unaware of what awaits them. Beneath the icy surface, a shadow slips stealthily, almost imperceptibly. His eyes, cold and calculating, do not miss a single detail of what is happening on the surface. He's in no hurry. He knows how to wait. A group of penguins gather on the shore. They hesitate for a few seconds, stare at the water, and finally dive in enthusiastically. One of them, younger and inexperienced, hesitates. He stays behind, trying to muster the courage to follow the others. That brief moment of doubt turns out to be its own downfall. Seizing its opportunity, the leopard seal launches itself like a projectile from the depths. It cuts through the water with terrifying speed. In a single movement, it grabs the penguin by the leg and shakes it with brutal force before diving again, taking its prey to the depths. Everything happens in a matter of minutes, and the sea becomes calm again as if nothing had happened. Each of its attacks is precise. Its jaw is a versatile tool. It can filter krill and fish with fine rhythmic movements, or tear the flesh of a seabird or a baby seal without hesitation. But beyond its strength, what distinguishes it is its adaptability. It can adjust its technique according to the prey, changing its behavior with a flexibility not seen in most of its close relatives. Where other seals persist in the same strategy, the leopard seal observes, tests, modifies. There is no fixed routine. In an environment where stability is a mere illusion, only those who know how to adapt and anticipate the unpredictable survive, understanding that success depends more on flexibility than on persistence. The leopard seal can remain motionless underwater for hours, hidden under blocks of ice, waiting for a current to bring in its prey. Then it quickly emerges, changes direction to intercept a group of penguins moving nearby, adjusting its strategy according to the movement of the environment. The leopard seal lies in wait under the ice, while on the nearby shore, a pup plays carefree. He rolls in the snow, submerges himself for a few seconds, and comes back up without noticing that the current has carried his mother a few meters further away. Among the ice formations, the leopard seal has spotted an opportunity. Move your body with controlled and smooth movements, avoiding any abruptness that could disturb the surface. Without generating a single wave, it begins to approach, slowly and stealthily. When it's close enough, it launches itself. A single movement is enough. The calf lets out a high-pitched squeal, muffled by the icy water. The mother turns her head and runs back desperately, but it's too late. The surface is calm, the trail has disappeared. Only a deep guttural sound remains, emitted by the mother as she smells the water, a lament that fades among the masses of ice. The scene dissolves into the monotony of the frozen landscape, as if the moment had never existed. But beneath this apparent calm, the predator continues its prowl. Each attack relies on an anatomy designed to kill. The leopard seal's serrated teeth are its primary hunting tool. It is adapted to both sucking and tearing, a perfect evolution for a true ice predator. The youngest ones begin hunting small prey, fish and krill, learning to recognize currents and navigate among the pack ice without betraying their presence. With each catch, they refine their movements, measure distances, and discover which mistakes cost unnecessary energy. As they gain confidence, their choices change. They begin to prowl around deep crevices where small cephalopods often get trapped, or to follow other seals closely during dives, taking advantage of the confusion of a school dispersed by the pursuit of a larger predator. They no longer settle for easy prey. Experience allows them to calculate risks and assess opportunities, leading them to attempt bolder attacks, even in murky waters or narrow areas beneath ice sheets, where the slightest mistake can mean entrapment. This change in their behavior is not just a matter of individual learning, but a reflection of an evolution that has given them great adaptability and practical intelligence that translates into flexible and efficient hunting strategies necessary for survival in such an unforgiving environment. The sea is her hunting ground, and she is the shadow that lurks beneath the surface. The ice also serves as a refuge. During the breeding season, during the warmer months, mating calls echo across the ice. The deep, melodic calls travel long distances. These unusually melodic sounds can reach up to 10 kilometers underwater. The encounter between a male and a female is neither romantic nor long-lasting. It's brief but effective. Then the female is left alone, responsible for the new life. It digs tenaciously into compact ice to build a secure burrow. The wind blows hard in the white immensity, but she works tirelessly. Every movement of its fins is precise, instinctive, vital. It knows that in this icy corner it must offer refuge to the new life on its way. Days later, a faint sound breaks the silence of the burrow. The cub is being born. With effort, she breaks the bag that surrounds her, slips on the ice inside, and emits her first squeal. Her still wet body trembles, but the mother, exhausted and attentive, licks her tenderly. He surrounds it with his body of more than 300 kilos, using it as a shield against the polar wind. He doesn't move for hours, making sure I breathe, that I stay warm, that I live. At first, it's small and defenseless, but soon demonstrates a voracious hunger. It feeds on the dense, high-calorie mother's milk, a milk so rich in fat that it doubles in size in just 3 months. The mother rarely leaves his side. She watches over him firmly, protects tirelessly, and feeds him devotedly. As the days pass, the cub's curiosity grows. It takes its first steps toward the icy shore. The mother guides it with deep sounds, gently nudging it with her snout. The young girl hesitates, stops, but finally dares. He submerges himself for just a few seconds in the icy waters and comes back shivering. Each dive is a test, a crucial lesson for survival. She's learning to float, to move agilely underwater, to detect the slightest movement from a distance. She's training to become a hunter, a future queen of the Antarctic depths. However, even one of the top predators in this ecosystem isn't immune to threats. There's an enemy that's equal to and even surpasses it, the orca. In a narrow channel between thick blocks of ice, a pod of orcas advances silently. One of them detects movement on a platform. A leopard seal has been spotted. With a powerful charge, the orca breaks the ice. The seal falls into the water, and a frantic chase begins. It swims in circles, dives, and hides between boulders. For minutes, the ice becomes the scene of a deadly game. But this time, the seal manages to squeeze through a narrow crevice. From afar, her pup has witnessed everything. She has learned a vital lesson. Even the strongest must know when to back down. While the ocean churns with the hunt and flight of its giants, the frozen surface appears at first glance to be a desolate and dead desert. However, beneath that appearance of emptiness, there exists a tiny world populated by creatures that defy the limits of cold and dryness. Springtails, tiny wingless insects, measure just a fraction of a millimeter, but are among the hardiest terrestrial organisms in Antarctica. They can withstand temperatures that drop below -40 degrees Celsius, even entering a state of freezing that can last for months without their metabolism completely stopping. During the long winter periods, they remain dormant within the ice, or buried under layers of snow, protected from wind and radiation, surviving on minimal reserves and slowing their activity to a bare minimum. When the Antarctic sun returns in spring and temperatures soften slightly, they begin their daily routine. They move slowly between the frost and cracks in the frozen ground, feeding on decomposing organic matter, mosses, lichens, and microscopic algae that emerge with the thaw. These tiny insects play a fundamental role. They transform dead matter into available nutrients, facilitating the existence of other life forms that depend on the substrate they prepare. Without them, the Antarctic soil would be a barren and inhospitable terrain. In this extreme climate, springtails remain steadfast, adapted over millions of years to an environment that few can endure. Their unique resilience allows them to occupy a niche almost void of competition, while the harsh climate acts as a natural barrier that protects them from predators and competitors, granting them exclusive dominion over the frozen ecosystem. Thus, what seems like an impossible scenario for life is actually a safe haven for these microscopic survivors, who have made Antarctica their oldest and most steadfast home. The stillness of the Antarctic floor seems absolute, but beneath the frozen surface of the ocean, life unfolds at a different pace, marked by the tiny existence of Antarctic krill. This tiny crustacean, no bigger than a finger, has adapted its body to the extreme conditions of a perpetually cold sea, where temperatures can drop below zero and ice dominates much of the year. Its translucent exoskeleton, reinforced by special compounds, withstands the pressure of deep water and the brutality of winter. With legs covered in fine hair, it tirelessly filters the phytoplankton floating in the currents, its main food source. He is unhurried in his movements. Each stroke is calibrated to conserve energy in an environment where food may be scarce. The krill life cycle is a testament to patience and precision. From laying eggs in the depths through various larval stages to reaching maturity, it can take more than a year. Their reproduction is synchronized with the long months of summer light, when phytoplankton multiply dramatically and the ocean becomes a feast. In this changing environment, krill is emerging as an almost primordial species within the Antarctic marine ecosystem. Their ancestors, who emerged millions of years ago in temperate seas, were shaped by the advance of glaciers and the drop in temperatures. Today, krill retains traits that speak to that history: exceptional resistance to cold and the ability to enter a state of reduced activity that allows it to survive long months of scarcity. During these periods, their metabolism slows, minimizing their energy needs, while they remain grouped in dense schools, drawing on internal reserves that sustain them until the return of the phytoplankton that feed the ocean. Moving in these compact schools, krill move their bodies in unison with their peers, a synchronization that helps reduce individual risk to predators and facilitates feeding efficiency. Although they lack specialized organs for communication, they respond to mechanical and chemical stimuli in the water, adjusting their movements in a continuous interaction that maintains group cohesion. At first glance, their lifespan may seem diminutive, but their survival is the result of meticulous evolution and constant adaptation, a silent testament to resilience in the frozen realm. Among these same waters, where life is organized in complex networks of interaction and survival, Antarctic gulls find food and shelter. They move with an adaptability that distinguishes them from their relatives on more temperate coasts, moving precisely between currents and blocks of floating ice. With their plumage combining shades of grey and white and their legs adapted to walk on icy, slippery terrain, they seem molded by the rigors of their environment, prepared for a life cycle that defies the hostility of the climate they inhabit. The Antarctic gull is not an occasional visitor. Its presence is permanent on these coasts, although during the southern hemisphere winter, some populations may move to more temperate areas, such as the coasts of South America, especially southern Chile and Argentina. However, most of their life is spent around the Antarctic Peninsula and nearby islands, a territory that offers ample food and shelter among the rocks and colonies of other seabirds. Unlike common gulls, which feed primarily on coastal debris or fish near the surface, the Antarctic gull has adjusted its diet to include a variety of small marine animals, including crustaceans such as krill. This specialization is possible thanks to their ability to dive slightly and capture prey in cold waters, a skill uncommon among gulls in temperate environments. Their daily routine is marked by the constant search for food, alternating with periods of rest on cliffs and rocky beaches. During the southern hemisphere summer, gulls congregate in colonies where they nest in nests made of stones and sparse vegetation, adapting to a reproductive calendar that coincides with the period of greatest food availability. The female lays between 2 and 3 eggs, which both parents incubate jealously for several weeks. The chicks, initially covered with greyish down, remain under the watchful care of the adults until they can fend for themselves. Their flight system also reflects the demands of the Antarctic climate. They possess a muscular structure and metabolism that allows them to withstand strong winds and prolonged flights, characteristics not necessary for sand gulls, which are more accustomed to milder conditions. In addition, their plumage is denser and oilier, providing thermal insulation and water repellency, essential for survival in an environment where constant contact with ice and frozen sea is inevitable. The choice to live in such an extreme place is not accidental. Competition for food and space is less than in more temperate ecosystems, and the seasonal abundance of krill and other marine organisms ensures a constant, if variable, source of sustenance. In turn, the Antarctic gull is part of a complex network of relationships, where its role as a consumer of small crustaceans and fish contributes to balancing the ecosystem. This bird has not only physically adapted to the rigors of Antarctica, but has also adjusted its behavior and life cycle to make the most of a territory that, although inhospitable to many, is an undeniable home for it. While seagulls patrol the coast and ice in search of food, another figure patrols the same shores with determination, the giant petrel. With a size that defies its marine origins, this bird can measure nearly 1 meter in length and spread wingspans of more than 2 meters, rivaling even some albatrosses in size. On the ground, its posture is characteristically upright, capable of walking decisively on icy stones, something uncommon in proselyrids. Its arched, tapered head, combined with a giant beak made of horny plates and ending in a sharp hook, allows it to tear flesh with efficiency and precision. This petrel isn't limited to hovering or feeding at the surface. It has evolved a powerful jaw, supported by hindquarters muscles, optimized for biting hard and quickly tearing through flesh, while still being able to dive for marine prey or carrion. In addition, it has a salt gland above its beak, which allows it to ingest seawater without harm. A relentless scavenger, the giant petrel roams beaches and cliffs with a distinctive feature, the sealmaster stance, where it extends its head and wings to dominate its food and scare away rivals. Unlike Antarctic gulls, which maintain a varied and opportunistic diet, the giant petrel has perfected its existence on a more crude logic. On the coast, the air carries a tense silence, broken only by the crunching of ice fragments and the distant murmur of the sea. There, seagulls retreat from an abandoned carcass, while a larger, more confident presence approaches with a firm step. The giant petrel descends calmly, avoiding unnecessary haste. It observes carefully, spreading its wings with a slowness that is enough to scare away smaller birds. Upon reaching the body, it takes possession. With a movement of his neck and beak, he tears a hardened piece of flesh. The harsh sound of fabric yielding under their force breaks the stillness of the landscape for a moment. The other birds disperse, aware that there is no room for dispute. More than just a scavenger, it's a mobile piece that keeps the land clean, disperses potential sources of infection, and ensures the continuity of natural recycling in a system where every bit counts. Only in a place as extreme as this can a bird of its size be a predator, scavenger, and cleaner all at the same time. Thus, the giant petrel masterfully dominates the air and the icy surface, but in the silent, dark depths of the ocean where light barely penetrates, a hunter with precise movements glides silently. Adapted to temperatures approaching 2 degrees below zero, this inhabitant of Antarctic waters holds secrets that set it apart from its relatives in more temperate seas. It is the Antarctic squid. Its compact body, with short, muscular tentacles, is adapted to move precisely in an environment where any mistake can be lethal. The blood of these squid contains special proteins that prevent the formation of ice crystals, keeping their organs functioning in conditions that would freeze almost any other creature. They hunt alone. Unlike squid in tropical waters, which chase dense schools of fish or gather in scattered shoals, their prey here is discreet, scattered, and scarce. Antarctic krill, icefish, and small invertebrates make up its diet. It doesn't require long chases. It prefers quick and silent ambushes, taking advantage of the dark gaps between floating ice blocks. Through those same gaps, the currents drag the body of a dead Antarctic fish. Above it, habitual scavengers are already gathering, a giant petrel, some hungry gulls, and fragments of krill floating around the remains. But from the depths, a silhouette emerges. A squid approaches slowly, its tentacles spread out like wispy branches, barely visible in the gloom. With a quick burst of propulsion, he reaches the carrion and takes his share. There's no struggle. Its beak, hidden among its tentacles, tears through tissue in a matter of seconds. At that moment, its skin emits faint flashes, modulating its color and shape to blend in with the broken gleams of the ice above. It is a defense and hunting resource. to confuse, camouflage, disappear. Unlike other squid, this one never leaves these waters. It is a species permanently linked to the Antarctic ecosystem, shaped by its extreme conditions. Their metabolism adapts to low temperatures, and their reproductive cycles coincide with the seasonal migrations of prey and scavengers. More than just an abyssal creature, it represents a life form that has survived to the limits of what is possible. Silent, elusive, opportunistic, and at the same time indispensable in the delicate balance that sustains these waters. Because even here, where the cold turns the surface into an icy desert, the darkness hides ancient hunters who never left their sight, fragments of a lifeline that, despite the harshness, remains intact. A setting where life adapts to the extreme, persisting in a cold that few can endure. Here, orcas power through the waters, true queens of hunting and cunning in a relentless liquid kingdom. King penguins, with their elegant demeanor and routines marked by loyalty and resilience, defy the icy winds to perpetuate their species. Leopard seals, solitary predators, move between ice and sea with lethal precision, reflecting a complex and delicate balance. These protagonists, each in their own way, sustain the plot of an ecosystem that never stops, not even in the heart of the most absolute cold. Here, survival is a story that is renewed with every wave, every shadow, and every breath.